senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, with us. So, Judge, as we know, the acting deputy attorney general instructed the U.S. Attorney's Office to drop the case, drop the charges. What happens now?
Well, this is kind of unprecedented because the same lawyers who will appear in federal court this morning asking the same judge to drop the case told this judge 2 months ago, the case is a slam dunk, the evidence is overwhelming, we actually have more charges we're going to file. So the judge will say, what happened? Why are you dropping the case? Now, here's the answer they'll give. They will say, and it will not be the very same lawyers who brought the charges, but it's the same office. Well, the charges were brought at a political time, and we're worried they may have been brought in order to affect the mayoral race, which is this fall. Therefore, while we're asking you to drop the charges, we may want to bring them back after the mayoral race. Now, can they do that? Yes, but it's highly unusual, and it's up to the federal judge.
So it's so interesting because they're basically saying we're dropping the case, or at least pausing the case because of politics, and then the defense is saying you brought the case because of politics. I mean, literally, the AG said, even the AG who said drop the case said it cannot be ignored that Mayor Adams criticized then-President Joe Biden's immigration policies before he was suddenly investigated and charged.
Here's the thing. Is the Trump DOJ dropping the charges because Eric Adams is cooperating with the Trump ICE, which normally you'd expect a Democratic mayor in a liberal town like this to resist ICE. And if that's happening, is it an appropriate favor to give to the mayor? Is it an appropriate lever of power? Help us out, and we'll drop the indictment against you. This is what the critics will say. The Trump administration will say, this was brought for political reasons. We're going to put it on the shelf and see how things go.
Throw in congestion pricing, and I'm good with that.
Does this happen a lot in the middle of an investigation?
No. I won't say it's unprecedented, but it's extremely unusual, particularly in a public corruption case. You don't bring a public corruption case unless you're certain you're going to win. The prosecutors shouldn't bring any case unless they believe they're going to win. But they told this federal judge that the evidence of guilt was overwhelming, and one of the conspirators, a person who's on the mayor's staff, has already pleaded guilty. What becomes of him?
Yeah. That's a great point.
It's an unusual case. We'll have to see. Where it ends up. What happens if the judge denies the motion to dismiss? They can't force the government to prosecute a case, so he's certainly going to go along with it. He may be skeptical. He may be unhappy. He may feel they're not telling him all that he needs to know, but he'll go along with it.
Speaking of unhappy judges, it seems like we've got some up here in New England.
You're looking at me when you say that.
You know.
No, I love my work.
So now we've got a judge a federal judge in Rhode Island who is basically stepping in and blocking the president from stopping federal payments, which he questions, saying he's ordering them to continue to go through and make the payments.
This is a potential constitutional crisis.
Okay.
Define constitutional crisis as a clash between two branches of the government. The judiciary says, don't do this. The executive branch does it. It may very well be a constitutional crisis if the J.D. Vance attitude, we don't have to obey an order that we believe is unlawful, prevails. They do have to obey the order. The remedy for your belief that a judicial order is unlawful is to appeal it. They would appeal it to the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit sitting in Boston, a traditionally liberal court, and then they would appeal it to the Supreme Court of the United States. I honestly think all these challenges to Donald Trump's exercise of power are going to end up before the Supreme Court. This may be the first one to go. But when a judge tells you don't do something, don't do it.
All right, that's good advice.
Use the Marshal Service to enforce it.
Thanks, Judge.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.